Okay, so you know how we were talking about doing a deep dive on like all the expectations and stuff around being the mother of the bride?
Yeah.
And this isn't just about the dress. Like there's so much more to it.
Right, exactly.
Like I went to this wedding recently and the bride's mom was like, whoa, this total force of nature.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it was more than that.
I get you.
It was like this calm strength, like she was holding the whole thing together. You know,
like the bedrock.
totally. And it got me thinking about all the stuff we put on Moms of the Bride, and it's perfect timing because someone requested this deep dive.
Awesome.
So the source we're looking at is this snippet from a podcast. It's called Reflections of Elegance.
Okay.
But it's not really a like fashion guide. It's more about, I don't know, embodying the role.
Interesting.
Yeah. So let's dig into it. What does this podcast think is so important about being the MOB?
All right, well, one thing that jumps out is how they use all this imagery to like create this almost aspirational picture.
Oh.
Yeah, so right away, it's all outdoor weddings and garden settings and soft sunlight.
Like a dream.
Exactly, very deliberate choices.
So they're creating this whole world.
Yeah, and then they put in all these specific fashion details.
Oh yeah, like what?
So they talk about knee-length or floor-length dresses with delicate lace and this color palette of champagne silver baby blue.
Specific.
Yeah, and I'm curious from like your perspective following all this, do you think that much detail is typical? Or is this podcast being extra, prescriptive?
I think they're setting a mood more than giving strict rules.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like the fashion is shorthand for a certain type of elegance.
Right, carefully curated.
Yeah, like it's supposed to be timeless, not trendy.
Exactly, and then it gets even more interesting when they talk about accessories.
Oh yeah, what'd they say?
Well, they specifically mention a shawl or bolero for modesty.
Interesting.
And that made me wonder, does that reflect like a generational difference in expectations or something broader?
It's gotta be both, right?
Yeah, probably for some people, modesty is like super important.
Right.
But it also plays into that whole image they're building, like understated refinement.
Totally. And then, of course, there are the pearls.
Classic.
Yeah, like the ultimate MOB touch.
It does kind of imply a certain age or at least a traditional mindset.
Totally. But then the podcast gets really interesting because it shifts from the visual stuff to demeanor.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they start using words like grace and wisdom and pillar of strength.
I like that.
Me too. Makes you wonder, are these qualities they think moms just have or something to strive for?
That is a good question.
Right? Like, is it societal pressure or personal growth?
Yeah, like both.
Probably. And it seems like they're saying the mom's inner strength contributes to the whole meaning of the wedding.
So it's not just about looking good, it's like this emotional core.
Right, exactly. But does that put a ton of pressure on moms, or is it just acknowledging their importance?
I think it raises a good point about balancing tradition with how moms' roles are changing.
Total.
Like, this podcast clearly values moms' contributions, but whether that becomes pressure or empowerment is up to each person.
For sure. And they don't just focus on the wedding day either.
What do you mean?
They talked about the mom's whole journey, all those years leading up to it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, all the nurturing and support.
So it's more than just being a fashion plate.
Exactly. It's recognizing that deep mother-daughter bond.
Right, and how the wedding is this big chapter in their story.
But let's be real for a sec.
Okay.
This whole idyllic picture, the garden, the sunlight, the elegance, could that be an unrealistic standard?
I see what you mean.
Like, what if moms listen to this and feel like they can't measure up?
Totally. It's definitely romanticized and maybe even problematic if it's taken too literally.
Right.
Like, it could overshadow how messy and funny wedding prep actually is.
So true.
Like, my sister's wedding was a whirlwind.
Mine too.
So we've definitely moved past just dress codes.
For sure.
This source shows how this one podcast elevates the mother of the bride, connecting it to all these emotional and relationship themes.
Exactly. But it makes you wonder, is it a real reflection of mom's experiences or just an ideal?
And that's what I want you to think about.
Okay.
If you were making a podcast on this, what would you include that this one didn't?
Good question.
Like, what's missing from this picture of elegance and strength?
Yeah, that's something to think about for sure.
Definitely.
So much more to this than meets the eye.
Absolutely.
Thanks for diving in with me.
Anytime.
Until next time.
See ya.